Imagine this, you're sitting at a table. Maybe it's a bar, maybe it's just a coffee shop, but you notice something strange. She's with you, smiling, talking, but her friends, the one sitting just a few feet away, keep sneaking looks at you. At first you brush it off, thinking maybe you imagined it. But then it happens again. One glances at you when she thinks you're not paying attention. Another leans in, whispers something in her ear, and they both laugh, eyes darting in your direction. It's a small detail, but your gut feels it. Something's happening beneath the surface, and you can't quite name it. Most men don't notice, or they pretend not to. They tell themselves, "Oh, they're just curious," or "I guess they like me." But here's the truth, those sneaking looks are rarely harmless curiosity. They're signals, they're micro-tests, sometimes they're warnings. A woman's friends are her mirror, her reinforcement squad, and sometimes her silent judges. If they're sneaking looks, you're part of a game you didn't sign up for. And if you don't learn to read it, you'll be played without even realizing. Think back, have you ever felt like the room was watching you through her? That her friends' giggles or whispers made you suddenly aware of yourself? That's not an accident. Women know the power of social proof, and they wield it. When her friends sneak looks, it can mean she's already talking about you behind closed doors. They might be testing to see if you're the guy she claimed you were, or worse, the guy she warned them you might not be. Here's where most men get trapped. You start performing. You feel those eyes on you, and suddenly you exaggerate your laugh. Speak a little louder, try a little harder. You've fallen into the invisible trial where her friends become the jury. You're no longer relaxed, you're auditioning, and she knows it. She can sense when you shift from grounded presence to insecure performance. She'll never tell you, but in that moment, she holds the reins. You need to understand why this works. Women don't just date you, they present you, they showcase you. And if her friends approve, it validates her choice. If they disapprove, it plants seeds of doubt. This is why their sneaking looks matter. They're not looking at you casually. They're weighing you, comparing you, dissecting your presence. And she feels the weight of their silent verdicts more than she'll ever admit. So how do you respond? The weak man seeks approval. He tries to win over her friends by over-engaging, cracking jokes, showing off, buying them drinks, or bending to their small tests. He thinks, if they like me, she'll like me more. But it never works, because the moment you chase their approval, you've lost hers. You've shown you're not centered, not grounded, you're desperate for validation. The strong man, however, flips the script. He notices the sneaking looks, but he doesn't flinch. He doesn't perform. He doesn't shrink either. He carries himself with calm indifference, as if their judgment has no hold on him. He engages if he chooses, not because he feels obligated. And when he does, it's measured, deliberate, never over-investing. That indifference is magnetic. It sends the message, I don't need your friends to like me. I know who I am. And paradoxically, that's exactly when they start respecting you. You break the trap by refusing to play it. When her friends sneak looks, let them. When they whisper, smile lightly but don't demand to know what's said. When they test you, answer with silence or wit, not defensiveness. Your power is in showing you're unshaken, that you're not in competition for their approval. Because when a man refuses to be measured, he becomes immeasurable. Here's the darker truth, sometimes those sneaking looks aren't about you at all. They're about her. She might be using you as social currency, parading you for attention, even exaggerating stories about you to her circle. If you feel like an exhibit rather than a man, you need to step back. Ask yourself, am I here because she values me, or because she values how I make her look? If it's the latter, You're disposable. The friend's looks are just the foreshadowing of the day she'll trade up or move on. So, ask yourself right now, have you ever been the man performing for her friends without realizing it? Have you ever caught yourself changing your behavior the moment you felt their eyes? And deeper still, did you ever sense that you were being used as a prop in her social game, rather than cherished as a man in his own right? Picture this, you're out with her again, maybe at a dinner or a small gathering. The pattern repeats. You're talking to her, focused on her words, but from the corner of your eye, you catch it one friend pretending to scroll through her phone, glancing up at you, then nudging another. You feel the shift in the air. It's subtle, but it cuts deeper than you admit. And here's the danger: you start to doubt yourself. You start asking questions in your head. Did I say something wrong? Did I come off awkward? Do they already not like me? That's how the hook sinks in. They don't have to say a word. Their silence, their sneaking looks, their whispers, they do all the work for her. Understand this, women rarely operate alone in the early stages of dating. Her friends are not just bystanders, they're an extension of her psychology. They amplify her choices, they validate her feelings, and sometimes they carry out her tests for her. If she wants to gauge how you handle pressure, she doesn't need to set the stage. Her friends will do it with a simple look, a playful jab, or a whispered laugh. And if you flinch, if you suddenly become self-conscious, the verdict is clear: you cracked. This works because women are masters of triangulation. She doesn't need to confront you directly. She lets her friends do the looking, the whispering, the side glances, and you do the rest. You spiral in your head. You start performing. You give away your calm, masculine presence, and in its place you deliver nervous energy. And that nervous energy is contagious. Her friends feel it. She feels it. And suddenly, without her saying a single word, you've proven you can't hold your ground in the face of subtle social pressure. Now here's where most men collapse further. They try to overcompensate. They try to win everyone over. They lean into conversations they don't care about. They laugh too hard at jokes that aren't funny. They buy everyone drinks to seem generous. Or worse, they confront the whispers directly. What are you guys talking about? You might think that's confidence, but it isn't. It's insecurity dressed up as boldness. Because if you were truly secure, you wouldn't need to ask. You'd let the whispers hang in the air like smoke and keep your calm. The strategy is not to outplay them, it's to stop playing. When her friends sneak looks, remind yourself it's not about you proving anything. It's about whether you remain unshaken. That's the test. And when you don't flinch, when you don't chase their approval, you flip the dynamic. They end up curious. They start asking themselves, why isn't he trying harder? Why doesn't he care what we think? That curiosity becomes respect. But let's go deeper. Because sometimes the sneaking looks reveal something darker. She might be using you as leverage. Maybe she told her friends you're obsessed with her. Maybe she painted you as the guy who would do anything for her. So when her friends sneak looks, they're not judging you. They're waiting to see if her story lines up. And if you fall into the trap of over-giving, over-performing, and over-pursuing, you've just confirmed her narrative. She looks powerful in front of them, and you look like the man who can't hold his own ground. This is why you must never perform. Your calm indifference is your shield. When you feel their eyes on you, don't speed up your words. Don't change your tone. Slow down. Let pauses hang. Sit back. Breathe deeper. Even subtle body language communicates volumes. If you look like you're at ease in your own skin, unmoved by glances, whispers, or tests, they'll sense it, and she'll sense it most of all. Now let's talk tactics, because theory without action is useless. Next time you're with her and her friends, Do 3 things. First, set your frame early. Enter the room with calm, grounded energy. Don't scan the room nervously. Don't look for approval. Make eye contact deliberately and briefly. Then focus back on your conversation. Second, when you notice the sneaking looks, lean into indifference. Don't stiffen up. Relax further. Maybe even allow the faintest smirk, as if you know something they don't. That smirk communicates quiet dominance without saying a word. Third, never chase their conversation. If they rope you in, engage lightly, then pivot back to your own pace. You're not there to impress her friends, you're there to live in your own frame. This shift is powerful because it recenters you. When you stop worrying about their looks, their whispers, their silent judgments, you reclaim your ground. You remind yourself that you're not on trial. You're not her showcase piece. You're the man who doesn't bend. And ironically, that's when both she and her friends start bending toward you. So, let me ask you, have you ever caught yourself cracking under that invisible trial, trying to win over her circle while losing yourself? Have you ever replayed those sneaking looks in your mind, wondering if they saw something in you that you didn't? And most importantly, how would your life change if you could walk into any room, any group, and remain completely untouched by their judgment? There's another layer you probably haven't thought about yet, the way those sneaking looks are coordinated. Sometimes, it's not random glances, it's a system. One friend looks at you, then at her, then back at you, and the others follow. That's not curiosity, that's communication. They're reading her reaction to you in real time, and she's reading theirs. It's like a silent committee meeting, and you're the only one not invited. That's why you feel outnumbered, why you feel watched. Because in that moment, you are. This is where most men lose power completely. They start living inside her story. They start wondering what she told them, what role she cast them in, whether they're the hero or the fool in her narrative. And once you start guessing, once you start imagining the conversations you weren't present for, you're no longer in your own frame. You're living inside hers. That's how she gains control. Not by saying anything outright, but by letting you wrestle with invisible judgments. But here's the uncomfortable truth you need to hear if her friends are always sneaking looks. It's not random. She's giving them a reason. Either she's bragging about you, mocking you, testing you, or setting you up for comparison. You have to pay attention to the context. Are the looks laced with giggles that usually means you've been a topic of gossip? Are the looks serious, almost cold, that suggests she warned them about you? Are they curious, neutral, almost respectful? Then maybe she's talked you up, and now they want to see if the hype matches reality. Whatever the case, the sneaking looks are never without fuel. The fire came from her. So what do? You cut the fuel line. You stop making her stories easy to tell. How? By refusing to be predictable. If she painted you as the desperate one, you become the detached one. If she bragged that you'll do anything for her, you stop overgiving. If she mocked your insecurities, you stop showing them. In other words, you don't play the role she scripted. You rewrite it silently with your behavior. That's how you kill the committee. You don't argue with their whispers, you make their whispers irrelevant. This requires something most men don't practice, the art of holding back. You don't reveal everything. You don't explain yourself. You don't chase to clarify. When you catch the sneaking looks, the instinct will be to ask, "What's going on? Did she say something about me?" That instinct is death. Because the moment you ask, you prove the story is bigger than you. Instead, you do the opposite. You stay still. You let their curiosity burn out against your calm. You never fight to clear your name in social dynamics. That's the fool's move. The wise move is to live in such a way that no name can stain you. Let's get tactical again. Imagine you're with her and her friends at a dinner table. You notice the looks, the whispers. Step 1, ground yourself physically. Don't fidget, don't adjust, don't speed up your words, plant yourself like a rock. Step 2, redirect your focus. Lock into a conversation with one person, or even into your food, with calm confidence. Show that you're not scanning the room for validation. Step 3, project selective engagement. When you do interact, do it from choice, not from pressure. You might ask one friend a thoughtful question, then go silent again. That silence afterward is more powerful than any performance, because it shows you're not fighting for space, you're creating it. The psychological cost of not learning this is massive. If you're always reacting to sneaking looks, you'll drain yourself. You'll feel like you're never enough, like you're always one step behind the judgment of the crowd. That insecurity will eat you alive, not just in dating but in every area. Because if you can't stand tall when a few women glance at you, how will you stand tall when life puts you under real scrutiny? This is why mastering this small social battlefield matters. It's not just about women, it's about building a spine that doesn't bend under eyes, whispers, or silent trials. There's a freedom you've never felt until you stop caring about the committee. A weight lifts. You stop guessing what they think. You stop wondering what she told them. You stop rehearsing your lines. Instead, you move as yourself calm, unshaken, unmeasurable. And here's the paradox: the less you care about their looks, the more they look, the less you perform, the more curious they become. Until one day, you notice something new. Their sneaking looks are no longer judgment. They're admiration, even envy. They wonder how you're untouched, how you carry yourself like the only man in the room who doesn't need them. So let me ask you, have you ever realized too late that she scripted you into a story for her friends? Have you ever caught yourself trying to rewrite your role with desperate actions, only to make it worse? And do you see now how much power you gain the moment you stop defending yourself and start living unshaken? Now let's strip this down to the rawest truth. Those sneaking looks are a battlefield. They're not playful glances. They're not harmless curiosity. They are weapons. And the moment you forget that, you walk straight into the ambush. Every look carries weight. Every whisper carries judgment. Every laugh at the wrong time cuts into your sense of self. You feel it in your chest. It's subtle, but it chips away at your presence until you're no longer leading, you're reacting. Have you noticed how easy it is to slip into that role? One moment you're relaxed, the next you're hyper-aware, measuring every word, every movement. You wonder if you sound interesting enough, confident enough, funny enough. You wonder if they're dissecting your every choice, your clothes, your drink, your posture. And in that mental storm, you forget the most important truth: you are the prize, not them. The reason this works so well is because it plays on one of men's deepest weaknesses, the craving for approval. Men are conditioned to seek external validation, to measure their worth through the eyes of others. And women know this. They've seen enough men crumble under the slightest hint of judgment to know it doesn't take much. A glance, a giggle, a whisper, that's all it takes to bend you out of your frame if you've never built one. So how do you break free? You stop craving the approval, not just from her friends, but from her too. You detach your sense of worth from anyone's opinion in the room. That's the real shift. Because if you can only feel strong when everyone smiles at you, you're fragile. But if you can sit in the middle of glances, whispers, even outright disapproval, and remain unmoved, you've crossed into true masculine strength. Here's the tactical application. Next time you sense those sneaking looks, instead of speeding up, slow down, Speak with fewer words, not more. Instead of laughing louder, go quiet. Let your presence create tension. This unnerves them because most men scramble to fill the silence. You won't. You'll sit with it, comfortable in the discomfort. That silence becomes your weapon. It sends the message, I don't perform for you. I don't seek your nod. I exist beyond your approval. Another move, reframe their whispers in your mind. Instead of thinking, they're judging me, think, they're curious about me. Curiosity is power. If they're whispering, it means you're unpredictable, and unpredictability is the essence of attraction. Never give them the certainty they crave. If they want to know who you are, let them find out slowly through your actions, not your over-explanations. And let's not avoid the darker side. Sometimes, those sneaking looks mean sabotage. Maybe she's already planting seeds against you. Maybe she's telling her friends you're too into her, or not into her enough, or that you're replaceable. This is where you need absolute clarity if she's using you as a prop to elevate her own status. You walk, no hesitation, because the moment you become her social accessory, you've already lost her respect. And when respect is gone, love follows. So ask yourself, are you here to be displayed, or are you here to be chosen? If you're just being displayed, the friend's sneaking looks are a preview of the day she'll drop you for a bigger, shinier exhibit. If you're chosen, you'll feel it not in her words, but in her consistency, her loyalty, her respect when you're not performing. You'll know it by the absence of games, by the way she shields you from judgment instead of feeding you to the wolves. This is why detachment is your greatest weapon. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care, it means you care selectively. You care about your values, your direction, your peace, but you don't care about whispers, judgments, or the shifting tides of social approval. You don't bend for sneaking looks. You let them glance. You let them wonder. You let them talk. And through it all, you remain a man untouched, a man unbent. That's the transformation most men never make. They stay in boyhood, always chasing nods and smiles, always seeking to be liked. But you have the choice to step into something higher, to be the man who doesn't need the room, who doesn't need the committee, who doesn't need the sneaking looks to validate or destroy him. You become the man who defines the room simply by walking into it. So, let me ask you right now, have you ever caught yourself shrinking under the weight of whispers you weren't even sure were about you? Have you ever felt your confidence leak away just because her friends glanced too long? And what would it mean for your life if you never again allowed the eyes of others to dictate the strength of your presence? And now we arrive at the core truth, the part most men run from, but the part you need to face if you want to walk into any room with unshakable presence. Those sneaking looks don't actually matter. Not in the way you've been trained to believe. They only matter if you give them power. They only cut into you if you let them. A glance is nothing until you make it everything. A whisper is nothing until you interpret it as a verdict. That's the trap, and that's where most men bleed themselves dry. You've been conditioned to chase approval since boyhood. Teachers, parents, coaches, women you learn to measure your worth through their nods and smiles. So when her friends sneak looks, it doesn't take much to send you spiraling back into that childhood script. Suddenly, you're that little boy again, desperate to be liked, desperate not to be laughed at. And that desperation leaks out of you. They smell it, she feels it, and the moment it surfaces, you've lost. But here's what you never learned: the man who doesn't flinch under judgment is the man who wins every silent battle. When her friends sneak looks, you don't react. When they whisper, you don't demand to know. When they giggle, you let them. Because your reality is not dictated by their commentary. Your value doesn't shrink or grow based on their approval. You are the constant. You are the anchor. And once you truly live that, the game collapses. You want to know the ultimate shift. It's not about winning her friends over. It's not about proving yourself. It's about embodying the presence of a man who cannot be measured. A man who knows who he is, whether the room applauds or mocks. A man who can sit in silence, unbothered. While others project their insecurities through glances and whispers, that's the power that bends the room without you lifting a finger. Think of it like this: her friends are the mirror. They're reflecting back whatever story she's been spinning about you. If you let their sneaking looks define you, you're living inside her reflection. But if you stand firm, indifferent, you break the mirror. You stop being a reflection and start being the original. And that's when everything shifts. That's when she and they and everyone else realizes you're not just another man desperate to be liked. You're the man who doesn't bend. So what's the move from here? You live it. You stop performing in subtle ways. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop asking for clarity when they whisper. You stop bending your tone, your posture, your choices to fit their approval. Instead, you train yourself to remain calm under eyes, to slow down when you're being watched, to use silence as your ally, to detach your sense of worth from anyone else's verdict. That's the field test, not theory practice. Every time you feel that old pull to chase approval, you resist, and with each resistance, you carve out a man who stands unshaken. And when you master this, something profound happens. The sneaking looks change flavor. They stop being judgments, and they start being questions. They stop being tests, and they start being fascination. They wonder why you don't bend, why you don't scramble, why you don't perform. And she, most of all, begins to see you differently, not as the man she can display or test through her friends, but as the man she cannot move, the man who either chooses her or doesn't but never bends for her. That's the power of detachment. That's the secret her friends' sneaking looks were always pointing you toward. The real battle was never about them, it was about you. Would you remain small, reacting to every glance? Or would you rise untouchable, immune to the shifting winds of approval? That's the choice in front of you. And if you choose strength, if you choose detachment, if you choose to be the man who doesn't flinch, you win. Not just in dating, but in life. Because here's the line you need to tattoo into your mind. She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.